Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, a historic release happening in the Keys. How biologists deployed the Sarasota-hatched King Crabs as part of a plan to help save Florida's coral reef. And an up-close opportunity to witness life-saving care of manatees at ZooTampa. It's back open and better than ever. We tour the new reimagined viewing area and hear from zookeepers on why these recovering animals are an inspiration. Plus a learning environment dedicated to the animals that may be off-putting to humans. See why we should be anything but afraid. This and much more straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. Conservation initiatives aimed at saving some of Florida's misunderstood species. That's the part of the foundation of ZooTampa's Reptile and Amphibian Discovery Center. They've just opened a brand new habitat that highlights important programs ZooTampa is involved in. Efforts that help in a variety of ways, making the sometimes smallest of animals a big priority.
We are in our brand new Reptile and Amphibian Discovery Center. It's been a long time coming since our last manatee tunnel was down for renovations. People have been waiting so long to see a lot of our snakes and other charismatic animals like our Cuban iguana. But I think now it's just such a more streamlined and very immersive area where people can really put themselves in the different Florida ecosystems. In we call it our RAD building, Reptile and Amphibian Discovery, you're going to find a lot of Florida native animals, including all Florida native venomous snake species, as well as animals that are not from Florida, but that are a part of our global conservation projects. Something really exciting is our brand new striped newt breeding lab. Right now, if guests come to visit, we're still working on cycling the water and getting the plumbing where it needs to be. But eventually, when they come in, they'll actually get to see every life cycle of a striped newt, every season of their life. And a lot of those animals are actually going to go on to be released into the wild as part of the striped newt repatriation program. So that's so exciting. I really think the heart of our reptile department here is our conservation projects and our breeding efforts. So for the first time in a very long time, you can actually come to ZooTampa and see the Panamanian golden frog. That is a frog that was considered extinct in the wild that we do reproduce here at ZooTampa. And now that people can come in and actually see them in person and experience them, that's a better learning opportunity than us just verbally talking about it. It's so important to bring attention to our reptiles and amphibians compared to other charismatic animals like the manatees and elephants and stuff like that, just because so many people fear what they don't know. A lot of our guests come in with their preconceived notions of snakes, reptiles, frogs, toads, like that. And when they come in and they see how important they are to our environment and how important they are to our lives, hopefully they can leave with a different mindset and know that they are here for a reason and they're intertwined in our ecosystem for a reason. When it comes to diet, humidity, temperature, everything like that, it's going to vary per species. So as a herpetologist, someone who works with reptiles and amphibians, we wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of things that we need control of, and that's one of the most fun parts of the job, is catering to their specific needs and keeping them happy and healthy. Having kind of a newer building has been really exciting because we have awesome things that we didn't have before, like automatic misting systems, where we have equipment where we can track our temperature and humidity really closely to make sure everybody's getting the care that they need. And also even control of the lighting. We can control their day cycle, their night cycle, and match it up to what it might be in the wild, what it might be for their breeding season, and really keep things as wild as possible for them. We do take a lot of extra precautions, especially with our venomous animals. Our first priority is keeping ourselves safe while also making sure that our venomous friends get substantial husbandry that they do need. So we kind of have our own system where we always use our tools to work with them. We use hooks, we never use our hands, and we try to explain that to our guests as well, that you just can't go into the woods in Florida and pick up a pygmy rattlesnake and expect it to be calm and you know, not strike or anything and defend itself. So you definitely have to be smart when you're out in the Florida wilderness, and we try to show that off here too when we're working with them. It makes me so excited to see our guests come in and enjoy the new building, because I think it's just a way better learning environment for animals that may be a little bit off-putting to our guests. We get a lot of people out of Florida too who aren't used to our native flora and fauna. And I think this is just a great teaching hub. There's great signage, and hopefully every guest leaves taking away something and learning something new. Amphibians are everything. Amphibians are indicators of water quality. They're indicators of a healthy environment. And a lot of people know that they're actually going through a mass extinction right now, which is accelerating because of humans. But we try not to make everything doom and gloom, because there is an answer to every call out there. And here at ZooTampa, we're really showing how we're giving back to our community and our environment. Hope is important when it comes to endangered species, and I think this new center really will invoke a lot of hope from a lot of our guests.
For more about the center and the different conservation projects underway, log on to zootampa.org. As you know, there are a variety of species the zookeepers care for at ZooTampa, one being the Florida panther. Officials recently established this young male panther could not be released after rehabilitation. So now Loper is adjusting to his new home at the zoo, where he will be an educational ambassador for his species. The panther was injured in a vehicle collision last July. Many stepped in to try and help him recover from his wounds, in hopes that he could be released back to the wild. But after multiple surgeries and a significant amount of time, it was determined he cannot be released, for he wouldn't be able to survive on his own. ZooTampa has stepped up and offered this endangered animal a permanent home, and the young panther is getting used to his new environment. Vehicle collisions are one of the greatest threats to Florida panthers, and anyone who sees an injured panther should report it to FWC. Their hotline is 888-404-FWCC. In 2024, more than 30 panthers died, primarily due to vehicle collisions, marking the highest death toll since 2016. It is estimated between only 120 to 230 Florida panthers remain in the wild. Coming up next on Animal Outtakes, a follow-up to a story we brought you last season. These Caribbean king crabs have been deployed with an important mission for Florida's reef. We're learning more about this holistic science-based coral restoration strategy after the break.
At Dante's Den Foundation, we let the dogs tell us who they are. We welcome our boarding friends with open arms and open hearts. When your pup spends time with us, we offer a personalized experience, from how they like to play to when they need to relax. Our staff is on site 24/7, and we honor dietary needs along with special requests. We do our best to make it a home away from home by providing a safe and comfortable environment. Dante's Den Foundation. It's a great place to be a dog.
Welcome back. It's Caribbean king crabs to the rescue. Moat marine biologists have officially released their first ever group of hatchery-raised Caribbean king crabs onto Florida's coral reef. It's all part of a holistic science-based coral reef restoration strategy. The release happened at a site in the lower Florida Keys. Now, you may remember we covered the initial phase of the project.
So it's the Caribbean king crab, although it's not actually a king crab, it's a spider crab. And the king crab, people get really excited when you call it a king crab, but it's the Caribbean, not a king crab. But it's a native. It is the largest native crab in the Western Atlantic. Males get up to 3 kilograms and about 20 centimeters across on the carapace, so they get very, very large. But they're omnivores. They eat mostly algae, and they'll eat algae that other herbivores won't eat, that will actively avoid. And algae that directly compete and indirectly compete with our corals for space and resources on the reef. As one component of the grazing community, we've taken these guys because one, they're very effective. If we increase their density on the reef, they remove algae very, very effectively. They reduce that competition between coral and algae and facilitate coral recovery. They're relatively simple to aquaculture and at scale, and they're relatively fecund. And then they also have a couple of other potential economic and socioeconomic benefits. But in the near term, we know that we can produce enough of them to change the grazing dynamic on our degraded reefs in Florida.
These crabs originated from brood stock maintained at the hatchery facility at Moats Aquaculture Research Park in Sarasota. The hatchery currently houses more than 300 adult crabs with the long-term goal of producing up to 250,000 juvenile crabs each year. These crustaceans are considered powerful grazers and are capable of consuming more algae than any species of parrotfish in the Caribbean. They even rival the grazing rates of sea urchins. Officials also say these crabs don't shy away from chemically defended algae that other species avoid. Their job is to reduce algal overgrowth, which is a major cause of coral decline. This initial release is part of Moat's phased approach, allowing researchers to focus on transport protocols, introduction at restoration sites, and observe behaviors. Additional releases are planned, including an even bigger deployment later in April. This effort builds on years of research and innovation. It was back in 2022 when Moat scientists achieved a breakthrough by hatching the institution's first clutch of Caribbean king crabs at its center on Summerland Key. For more about this project, you can go to moat.org. And coming up next on Animal Outtakes, we stay below the surface, checking out the reimagined Manatee Viewing Center at ZooTampa. See what these recovering manatees are up to and learn how we can all help keep the wild ones safe. Go slow and look out below. That's the mantra the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is promoting. Because manatees are on the move. This time of year, Florida's manatees are starting to naturally disperse from their winter homes. That means keep your eyes open when you're on the water. Boaters and other watercraft users are advised to look out below for the slow-moving mammals. During spring, manatees are more likely to be present in rivers and canals as they gradually move on from their winter habitats as water temperatures rise. FWC says with this seasonal increase in movement, people are more likely to cross paths with the manatees. So go slow when on the water and follow all manatee regulations. Spotting the manatees in the water can be tough. So to make it easier, wear polarized glasses and watch for visible snouts. If you encounter manatees always give them plenty of space. Boat strikes continue to be a major threat to Florida manatees. Luckily, there are teams of people across Florida who work together to make it their mission to save the injured manatees. One such place, ZooTampa. The David A. Strauss Jr. Manatee Critical Care Center has become the largest nonprofit manatee care facility in the U.S. Last season, they cared for and released a record 26 rehabilitated manatees back into Florida waters. And during that time, a massive construction project was underway. So we stopped by to see the new digs and find out how many manatees are currently being cared for after a cold winter in the Sunshine State.
So we're standing in the Strauss Family Manatee Rescue. It took us over 2 years of construction, start to finish. It turned out incredibly beautiful. This was a completely reimagined space. So if you've been here before, you may not recognize it as you return. It's much more immersive, much cozier feel, completely, again, reimagined, where we have new aquariums. We have our underwater viewing for manatees that everybody has come to love and enjoy. You know, there's nothing like really connecting with the Florida manatee. All of our manatees that you see here at the zoo are all rescued animals with our goal to rehab and release them all back to the wild. And you get to see them on their journey. We have everything from a tiny orphan calf up to a full-grown adult, and so you get to see them up close and personal. You know, it's really important for us to keep our distance in the wild, but when you're here, you get to see their cute lips and how they eat and how they move around in the water, and you don't really get that connection necessarily out in the wild. I think it's really important that people protect the manatee. It really starts with the citizens out in the wild. If you think you see an injured, orphaned, or sick manatee, we need to get them rescued and brought to our facility. And if you get to see them up close and personal, it definitely makes that connection more important, where hopefully you're going to care for them when you're out on your boat or out in your backyard. These are all females that you're looking at behind you, all at different stages of their rehab. If they're up in our front pools where you can see them underwater, that means they're on the road to recovery. Most of them hopefully will be released in the next year or so. But again, different stages. The girls all really like to eat, so they eat about 15 to 20% of their body weight every single day. So we go through thousands of pounds of food. They're going to be eating basically 8 hours of the day. So if you come, you're more than likely going to see them eating. We really want them to gain weight, get healthy, and then get them returned back as soon as possible. We want to keep our distance from them. And so you'll see the staff using feeders down in the water as well as we feed on the surface, keeping that wild manatee going. It's really important that they actually live with one another as well. They definitely learn from each other. Other than moms and calves, they don't have a family group, but they're very social. You're going to see them interacting, learning from one another, and that's really important that they keep that wild brain when they get returned back to the wild. You know, we usually say anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, sometimes longer depending on the case. Orphan calves are the most challenging that we have, especially if they come in and need a bottle. That's going to take us months, if not years, to get them returned back. Watercraft injuries, depending on the severity, can take a significant amount of time as well. So we treat each one as individual. We treat them for as long as we need to in order to get them healthy and back. We've had over 600 come through our doors, and we've had over 350 returned back to the wild. It's already been an incredibly busy season. This winter was really cold, and so we did get a lot of animals in with cold stress. We got quite a few orphans in. A lot of those animals have now kind of crossed that threshold. They're doing better, but we just got 3 in last week, so we're continuing to see them. You know, as we go into summer, we are going to probably see more watercraft. That tends to be year-round, but as people go out on the water more in the summer, we are going to see more watercraft, which is unfortunate. And that can be one of the most challenging things for us to fix if they are hit by a boat. So we really want people to look out for those manatees when they're out on their boats, give them that right away so that they can get away. Now, when you're looking at the manatee, you're going to see most of them have scars on them, and that is from watercraft. And so they actually are identified by their scar patterns, unfortunately. They're really slow moving. This is kind of their speed they move at, which is about 5 miles per hour. They're millers, meaning they hang around. They like to eat. They're going to go where the seagrasses are. which usually they live in about 8 feet or less. That's their happy place, is where they're gonna find the seagrass beds. And now you can see one female here who's floating on her side. She was a watercraft injury. She is doing better. We have done what's called a chest up on her a few times, so she only has a little bit of air left in her. We're hopeful that her lung is working properly. We put her out front here to hopefully dive and get her body back used to swimming. You know, a lot of people ask, like, oh, how do you handle that? You know, they're incredibly resilient animals. What they can handle and survive is unlike anything I have ever seen in any other species. You know, they come in with these horrible watercraft injuries and they're still nursing their calves. They have open wounds and they'll make a full recovery. It's pretty incredible. You know, it's not something we ever want them to have to deal with, but we're thankful that they can handle a lot, which helps us really push the envelope and hopefully make it to the other side. They can go a long time without food too, which is challenging. We want to keep them hydrated, but if they can, you know, cross that bridge and get to the other side, that hopefully we can get them better. Yeah, what's really incredible actually is that during this entire construction period, we actually kept our hospital open the entire time. When you actually look in there, that's a hydrophone. So we've been listening underwater for their vocalizations as well as construction noise, and actually been doing a study on them through the entire period to ensure their well-being was number one in it. They've handled it incredibly well. The animals you're looking at now are not the same ones we've had the entire period, but even then, they've all handled it really well. It was really important for us to try to keep the hospital going, and we succeeded in that, as well as their best interest in mind. And so we're really proud of that. In order to, you know, construction's challenging, let alone having a full-blown hospital going at the same time. Created its own challenges, but we worked as a team zoo-wide in order to make that happen. So pretty proud of that. We actually had a record number of manatees during that period. We've released quite a few. We actually had a record number of releases last year at 26 manatees within that calendar year. And then we've had a lot coming in. So our goal is to get them in and out, but each one's important. We want to take our time to make sure they're healthy before they get returned back.
We'll be right back.
Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org.
Calling all adventurers. To close the show today, we wanted to share some information about a statewide scavenger hunt on Florida's wildlife management areas. It's called Wild Quest, and it takes place April 25th through May 3rd. Using the free Goose Chase mobile app, participants complete missions while exploring some of Florida's best places to see wildlife, all while being outside and enjoying the outdoors. So to join, download the Goose Chase app, then get out and have some fun exploring. Wild Quest is free, though some locations may require a daily use permit fee, so plan accordingly. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. And we'll be back here again next week with even more animals and some educational and engaging encounters. Until then, thanks for watching.